Hey guys, on today's episode of the PressPlay Podcast, we are thrilled to host Siddhant and Shubhangi, the visionary founders behind SportVot, a dynamic sports tech and streaming platform that's changing the game for grassroots sports in India. SportVot is enabling hyperlocal sports events to reach audiences worldwide, empowering young athletes and giving underrepresented sports a stage to shine. Welcome, Shubhangi and Siddhant, to Press Play.
Thank you. Thanks,
Thank
Puneet.
you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. So the way we'll do this is, I will maybe share with you that, Shubhangi, this question is for you, or Siddhant, this question is for you, and then we can we can play it like that. I guess, to start with, maybe Shubhangi, you want to go first and tell us about the inception of SportVot and what inspired you guys to come together to start the platform.
Sure. I think this story goes way back to 2018 December. I think that is where very at small level we started this journey. So before SportWord, I used to work in marketing agencies where I used to consult startups, and Siddhant he used to have his own thing. Like he was working for a project called Free Hit Project, where Yash and Siddhant they had their own YouTube channel, and they used to review a lot of cricketers across IPL and World Cup. They used to have detailed analytics, report cards, and a lot of content around performance. And they were also running a fantasy platform, which of course Siddhant can elaborate more on. So I think this inception started from there, where they used to review so much content, and there was a very good channel that was in place. And during that time, there was a player from Bangalore who reached out to Siddhant saying that, if you create a report for me, then I'll also get a better placement and a better tournament to participate in. So that is when, we realized that, okay, there is a problem of data capturing and player profiling at grassroots level. And of course, when we did more study, we found out that it's very expensive, especially, all these association tournaments or any tournament for that matter, there is no proper data tracking happening. Mostly it's on pen and paper, and there is no way to dig, old data because there is no streaming also happening. So we took that problem, and then the first tournament that we went to was the DSOs, which is in Mumbai. So it's an inter-school competition that happens in Mumbai. We streamed around 52 sports. There we realized the potential that how big it can get in sports. We realized kabaddi had a very good viewership, hockey had a very excellent participation, football, and of course all sports had very amazing participation. And there were some families who reached out to Siddhant saying that, oh, thank you so much, my kid was covered on a platform. Of course there was no scoring, it was only streaming. But then we realized the pain points that went into streaming and scoring, and I think that is when we decided that, okay, this is a solution that we need. And we started with the mobile streaming solution. So we picked a sport which is very easy to stream, which is like basically kabaddi, football, which has a smaller space to cover. Not big football, 5v5, 5v5 side of football is something that we started. Kabaddi, hockey. So we started with mobile streaming, then we went deep into that, then we developed a lot of scoring panels. Then of course the COVID hit. Then there was some time where we had to figure out what to do next. So we developed the solution better. Then the first COVID patch, when it started to reduce, and then the event started. I think then we did a lot of streaming. I think a lot of tournaments came in because people were waiting for sports to begin, and then of course streaming was important because people couldn't come on ground to watch it. So I think from there, then it started picking up. We developed the solution better. We got some funding from Australia. We tried a bit of streaming outside. And then today here we are after 5 years, where we're doing, I think, around more than 50 sports, and we're doing around 20 countries currently.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was amazing. I think the last 3 minutes, you pretty much covered the entire journey of 5 years. So interesting. And how did you guys? So this is two of you all as co-founders. There's third co-founder as well. There's
Yeah.
three of you who are there. And how did you guys meet?
Siddhant, you want to take this up? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So Yash is the third co-founder along with us. So Yash and I actually had started working um, together a few years before we started this, a couple of years before. He used to work with us. I was running a fantasy game with along with a very good friend of mine. We used to run it as a small project between the two of us, and Yash started helping us out over there. Game saw decent success, and Yash played a very good role in helping us with data operations, streamlining data tagging, and capturing live goals, live assists of players, and being able to feed data into the fantasy engine. It was modeled along the around the Premier League. Sorry, so very much similar to the fantasy Premier League that we see today. So that's how Yash and I met. Yeah, Yash is actually Shubhangi's school friend, so that's how they know each other. And then Shubhangi joined us in our journey. And then there's some backstory to how I also know Shubhangi. So Shubhangi is a younger sister of a very close friend of mine, and that's how I knew her since she was very small, but just knew her like, oh, she's she's Shubhangi, she's my friend's sister. So we always thought of her as this little girl, young girl, choti behan type. But yeah, so that's how I met these two. And yeah, that's how we've been. Yeah, that's been how
Nice.
long? 7 years, 7 plus years
That's
since we've
great.
8 years since I've known Yash, at least 8 9 years, and Shubhangi also now about 7 years. She's with us. Right? She's been always involved in some capacity, doing something or the other. But yes, officially we started in late 2019. So yeah, that's our journey. Yeah.
That's great, man. No, I think it's important to double click on that, because when you have a startup, it's important that the co-founders gel well. So when you look back now, you have a backstory of how you knew her, and how you knew your other co-founder, how you guys came together. So that's interesting that you guys came together, and now SportVot is where it's at. So thanks for sharing that. The idea for Press Play also is to shed light on the eyeball economy, as I like to call it. And within the eyeball economy, sports is playing a critical role in getting people engaged. So maybe it's a good segue for Shubhangi. Maybe you go first, and Siddhant, you can quickly add to that. Is what is SportVot about? What do you guys do?
Okay, so imagine how you watch IPL World Cup on TV. I think we are the people who make every other match being available online. And it's not just about video, it's about the data, it's about the graphics, it's about the advertisements, it's about commentary, it's about highlights, it's about player profiles. It's all of these things packaged in one single solution. So, like a classic story being that a 16-year-old in Assam have built their own bamboo tripods and plastic bottles से tripod बनाए हैं अपना मोबाइल solution अपना मोबाइल फोन लेके हमारा solution use करके they have streamed more than I think 2000 or 2500 volleyball matches so far by themselves. Like there was only very bare minimum training and support that was given from our side. From there to be able to produce an even bigger stream with 14 15 camera angles, something like a Qatar Premier League, is something that we have done. So that's the scale. I think what we try to focus is that we don't look at the level of the tournament. I think more important is that every single match should be live streamed. So that's the motto and that's the product. Probably I would would want Siddhant to probably elaborate further on the product because he is the main brains, and like Yash and Siddhant has been the main people who have done a lot of R&D, a lot of back and forth, went on ground, streamed so many matches, came back again, developed the whole thing. So I think probably in detail Siddhant would be able to elaborate on this.
Yes. So thanks, Shubhangi. Um, what a sport would do today is it helps any sport get access to live video coverage. So, be it a sports organization that is operating in the sub elite level, or a sports organization, or a sports property IP, whatever we call it, operating in a tier one level as well. Of course, tier ones don't technically need us. Uh, they will have a lot of people, a lot of media, mainstream media coming to them, and they will have a lot of cash flow to be able to create content that is acceptable in that tier. The real challenge in sports live coverage was always the element or the factor of cost. Can you make live streaming, live video capture, and then streaming it cost efficient for a small a grassroots or a small tournament or a small league that is trying to fulfill the basics of just being able to host a tournament. So that's what SportVot lets you do. Now, how does it let you do is very simple. We've got our own cloud suite that lets you do this. You can use smartphones, as Shubhangi said, that there's a fantastic project called Brahmaputra Volleyball League, which does it using smartphones and just smartphones, and then using whatever devices to make tripods. And then you have something like as sophisticated as a Qatar Pro League, who find cost efficiency with us, or very big organizations like Chennai Super Kings' Junior Academies program, for a Reliance Foundation that is trying to go to multiple states of India, every state of India, and have football being developed in different corners. So for them, also you need a highly scalable solution. So we find our fit over there as well. So I wouldn't say it's just for the small people. No offense to, without meaning any offense, but it's for anyone that is looking at certain levels of efficiency. Of course, your quality will not be like a FIFA World Cup, but you will still be able to produce good video that is acceptable. So I think that is what SportBoard lets you do in its core value proposition. And then the amount of discovery that it is bringing in for talent and for a lot of upcoming sports players and athletes, that's that's the byproduct of what we've done. So I guess, yeah, that's in a nutshell what we do.
No, awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I think especially in a place like India, but also across the globe, uh, talent discovery is a problem that people face. As you go along the leagues and as you go higher up in the value chain of sports. But tell me, and any one of you can take this. Is what inspired your focus on grassroots sports, and how do you decide what events and sports to feature, or is that something that everyone gets featured equally? Or how does that work?
Uh, sure. Okay, I can take this, no problem. We don't have a bias to anyone featuring. We can't. We are not spoiled for that choice, to be honest. We don't have that choice. Uh, the featuring aspect is dependent on a lot of factors, but like I said, everyone gets the equal. Like, we are a platform and anyone can come and stream the match, so we don't have a limitation as such. But yes, there are certain tournaments that get a better attention from us because of the sheer potential of monetizing them. So, if you ask me, the only bias that we see from our side is how well can we monetize a particular tournament. But the smallest of the smallest tournaments happening are equally important to us. So anyone can get featured, anyone can come on Sportwood and stream. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
Got
If
it.
you check out the social media, like every day there is a new player, new sport, new story that is being covered. In terms of our OTT also, everything is given equal coverage. Of course, I think internally we had a bias towards kabaddi till a certain point, but I think now, ever since we have also evolved in the industry, I feel as like variation sport like MMA, jesse sports, karate, boxing, hockey, I think all of them are picking up quite well lately.
Nice, nice. No, that's good to know. I mean, diversity of sports
Yeah.
is important today more than ever, because I think the newer generations are exploring the fun of looking at, let's say, even paddle. Right? People
Yeah.
talk about paddle coming up in a big way, especially in urban India, and it's great to see the focus on multitude of sports that India has to offer. No, thanks for that. And building a startup. I mean, I was telling Siddhant this when I spoke to him that you should come on the podcast. Is that kudos to you guys to have built what you guys have in a world where you have the Disney Plus Hotstars and Geo Cinemas and fan codes of the world already there. So, and maybe you've answered this already in some way, but it'll be nice to get a response to the question that how do you guys differentiate in such a competitive landscape?
I think the differentiator for us is firstly Geo Star. They operate in a different tier altogether. Um, our core product is being able to help people produce live video. So technically, we could be a service provider to a lot of these platforms as well. So as we speak, we have certain. Um, we've worked with Star in the past in some capacity. They were kind enough to give us the opportunity to experiment at a few places. Same has been with Fancode. We have a different working relationship with Reliance Sports for their junior programs. So I think we very well complement platforms of such high scale where um, we could be a service, a platform, or a technology provider to a lot of these um you know platforms or apps or whatever we call them. So there is a lot of synergy more than competition. And I see, and of course we are not in a position to compete with them as well. So we see more of synergy, and the more sports content they are able to generate, more business it's going to generate for us is what we feel. Unknowingly, knowingly, there are a lot of tournaments that are produced using the SportVot stack that are put on FanCode a lot of times. So there is a lot of you know overlaps, but more like it's more of synergic cohesion rather than I should say friction, which is leading into competition. Not at all. And of course, like I keep saying, it's a different tier, different scale, different dynamics, different war chest that all of these have, which we can't compete with at all. So our um, our little niche is something different, and I think we are quite good at that.
No, awesome. I think and I have to ask you this that basically, I'm come from a video streaming background, so I have a lot of respect to what you guys have built. I think you guys are the only sports streaming startup that I know of outside of FanCode, which obviously has Dream 11 as the big parent company.
Yeah.
So in terms of the video streaming and the technology stack, so tech obviously was one, let's say I bucket tech as one area to look at in terms of challenges. Uh, so maybe double click on the challenges that you guys have faced over the last 5 years, whether it's tech, whether it's distribution, whether it's people. It'll be nice for our listeners and viewers to understand what it's like building a media tech startup in India.
Yeah, so I think I can go first with the distribution and the tech piece. Um, I think monetization is difficult in video content in general, which I can come and talk about later. But the base level video stack is your entry point, and today creating the base level video stack is it's not that challenging, to be honest. There are a lot of solutions that are available in the market with the likes of AWS, Azure, Google. They have a good streaming and video delivery solution. Of course, you have to have a good engineering team to be able to reap the benefits of this stack. We've done a lot of our engineering in house where we are using very little components of these platforms or infrastructure companies. But what we've had to do is we have to engineer a lot on the creation side, where we've created a whole cloud stack which is able to create videos, mix footages, switch between camera angles, add graphics, add replays, add commentary. All of this is in an interface like what we are seeing today for a podcast. It looks very similar, where you can have video feeds come in, switching being done, programming feeds sent out, commentators join in, very much in the browser, exactly like what we are doing this podcast on. So um, I think that's one piece of the engineering that we've had to do extra as a creator of content as well, as a platform that enables creation. And then the second layer is how well can you distribute, how well can you handle concurrency, how well can you handle scale. Fortunately for us, concurrency on a single video doesn't matter much, because we are not getting the scale of what a Hotstar gets when India is playing a World Cup game. We are fortunate that we don't get that much, or rather unfortunate that we don't get that much. But then we have hundreds of such small tournaments that could give you a scale, a concurrency of 100,000 users. So, uh, so there are nuances, there are trade-offs. So technology is basically the biggest technology, and the distribution and the technology to support the distribution is very important. But the real secret sauce is in how easy we are making it to create content, rather than. So I would say we've not innovated much in distribution, but we've innovated a lot on creation. That's where the standout. That's where we are able to stand out as a good creation tool, as a good creator. And then when you look at the other challenges, which I think Shubhangi would even elaborate even more on the monetization side. um, yes, you will have subscriptions, you'll have pay-per-views, you'll have people that are wanting to subscribe to a tournament to watch a match. But then the amount of subscription that you're generating versus the amount of money that you spend on the server and the infra is never going to be proportional. So we've recently tried to get people to pay for content very recently. Like this has been just 2.5 months back, and it's been a journey. It's been an interesting experience. People don't want to pay to watch, but then you have good stories as well, where you have a few thousand people that are paying to watch on a tournament. So um, it's an interesting journey for us right now, to say the least, in terms of monetization. And then there are other areas of monetization other than subscription, which is ad led and sponsor led, which I'm pretty sure Shubhangi will go into deeper breakdowns of those. But again, even on that side, most of the monetization is happening on the data and the live video and the statistical data that you're able to send out. So yeah, monetization is a challenge, but we are fortunately able to monetize a lot of what we are producing, a lot of the content that we are producing, and also monetize the side of creation, where a lot of companies and platforms are using this as a creation tool, and there you have a SaaS play that is also now coming into action. So, but yeah, these I would stop there and let Shubhangi add.
Yeah. So I think in terms of challenges, I remember first year and our biggest challenge was that people did not want to stream. I think our challenge started from there where we started fighting that okay, you need to stream. Then I think the challenge was that in India traditionally people have the habit to not pay for streaming. It's like people will come acquire your content, stream it, and then upsell it. I think it started from there, where it took a lot of time for us to make people understand that why streaming is important, because if there is no streaming then monetization itself is going to be difficult. So I think in the beginning 2 3 years our focus was more there, where we spend a lot more time in awareness, more time in demos, more time in telling people that how efficient this is not a traditional way of streaming. From there we went to, I think in the third or fourth year is where we started getting into monetization, because we did feel that okay, streaming will do this much, but after a point we will need to have some other monetization opportunities for tournaments, because there are some bigger scale tournaments in kabaddi, cricket, which was pretty great. They had very decent player participation, but of course to have that kind of sponsorship in place, you need a premium production. So I think then we started approaching to a lot of brands. Of course, for brands, sports is the last thing that they would want to invest in. I think, mostly fantasy companies like Dream 11, you have a lot of agencies and a lot of surrogate brands who would, very much willing to do this. So I think that is where we started from in around 2022. Then slowly, of course, my personal target was that I want some good brands to come in, somebody like an LIC, somebody like a Society T, who probably can benefit a lot from sports. So that is where we started innovating. We started creating a story that, you don't have to look at sports as something as ROI. I think it's high time that people start looking at sports as an impact. So that is where we started focusing on. We started focusing on player stories. We started focusing on the fact that how a small amount from Society T can benefit thousands of kabaddi players in Maharashtra. And we did make it happen. So last year in July, we had a big state level kabaddi event where we got a decent sponsorship from Society T. We invested entire money into the tournament, right from streaming to activations. We did a cute campaign where we made association people and players drink Society Tea, and then we made them tell stories that how does chai impact your day. So these kind of initiatives and these kind of impact marketing initiatives is what excites a brand to start coming into sports. And I think that is where slowly we'll be able to get more sponsors. Already on the bigger tier level, something like an ISL or PKL, they're already struggling to get sponsors. So grassroots was even more of a difficult challenge. But we did try to, of course, we're still slowly trying. I think we did something with LIC in December where we, got some amount for a Bombay-based school tournament. And we have a few more in pipeline as well. And I think also interesting learnings that I also got is that, grassroots sports might be limited in reach, but interesting media partnerships, like recently we closed a partnership with Free Press Journal where we are covering grassroots sports at a national level, which is again, incentivizing brands to come speak to us because this is leading to a bigger reach and bigger impact. So I think in terms of monetization, it is evolving. I think few more years and few, of course, like us, there are a lot more startups who are coming in sports space who are also helping us grow this ecosystem. So it's only going to get better.
No, awesome. I think that was a great response, and thank you for laying that out, Shubhangi and Siddhant. And tell me that in terms of the lessons, if I would say that if you want to share with entrepreneurs in the media tech space who are building, whether it's India or anywhere in the world, any lessons that you want to share, either on the technology side, distribution side, go to market side. I can understand that getting a sponsor for a grassroots level kabaddi match or cricket match, I can imagine the challenges because a lot of people were not even aware of the possibilities. Uh, what are the lessons that you want to share that you guys learned personally?
I would personally say that media is hard to, like, it's hard to monetize. It's very difficult for you to find your space when there is so much happening. There's so much independent content creation, influencer led content. There's so much of screen time that people are already devoting to a lot of other platforms. And how do you find your, I would not say niche, but how would you find your first degree connections or audiences also is sometimes a challenge. Um, Distribution, I think, comes after this. I feel first, if you're able to get a small product market fit initially, then you come into a position where you're saying that I'm going to scale it from few hundred watchers to, or few hundred consumers to, media could be a different form of consumption as well, to say hundreds of thousands. I think that journey is challenging. We've also faced challenges in that phase. I think we are in that phase right now where we are wanting to go beyond a few hundred thousands to, can we go into the millions category. So I think that is sometimes I would say undervalued or under sort of, we underestimate the challenge in this, where you are assuming that your content or your I don't know what else would come in media, but your product will find a fit. So I think that one should not underestimate the challenge, but at the same time, you never know what will work. So you need to experiment. You need to um, you need to be very cautious of the fact that you will have to be in this for the long haul. No media company is able to monetize and be profitable very quickly. Very few have done that. Most of the media companies, at least in India, are not yet fully profitable. So, from an India lens, definitely the monetization potential, the sheer volumes that you can generate in Western markets is different. You have various levels of monetization that you can unlock. You'll have subscriptions, pay-per-views, merchandises. All of that can be bundled through the content lens, and then you have other layers of advertisements also on top. So I feel underestimating the challenge of monetization is something that one should be very careful about, especially in India. Um, Technology, I think people can develop. I think that's the easier piece, and that's something that is binary. You will get it or you'll not get it completely. You'll not be in between. I'm pretty sure, like in live video coverage, it's either a zero or a one. Like even if you drop footage for a while, it's unfortunate. And every day we drop foot like we have this challenge every day. It's a conundrum. So technology is always going to keep improving. Delivery is always going to keep improving, but I feel monetization is where people are guilty of underestimating, from what I know.
Oh, great. I think very well said. Technology, even folks like Netflix, when they try and get live streaming, the stream has dropped for whatever reason. And that has given them uh, whatever press they got, right? So completely agree on that. And revenue generation for a media tech startup takes time. It takes time to build the name, the awareness for markets to really know the potential, especially the brands and the sponsors who are trying to come together in a market like India. Want to share, Shubhangi, maybe come to you next on what is next for SportVot for the next 1 2 years. What are you most excited about in terms of expansion plans, partnerships that you can share?
Sure. I think end goal is still how to cover more matches. I think that problem statement still remains the same. But yes, we have now started focusing on more outside India market expansions. We are working, in Australia markets. We have a lot of more international pipelines in place. Of course, more information to come as and when some more closures happen. So I think international would be a key focus. I think, monetization, sponsorship will always remain our focus, which is my personal goal right now, is how to get more monetization done in grassroots. For that, what are the quality of tournaments you require, what more has to be feeded into the system so that more tournaments are eligible for better sponsorship opportunities. I think that would be our main focus. Apart from that, casual sports is also something that we are looking at. There are a lot of tournaments that are happening more at casual level. Like you said, paddle, pickleball is picking up. So I think there is a lot of room to play around there. Of course, more information to come, but I think that is a segment also that we're looking at. And overall, yeah, I think with current team, of course, with a bit of more team expansion, we want to look at how do we double revenues, how do we double the number of matches we cover in the next 2 financial years probably.
Okay, and no thanks. And Siddharth?
I think one is the geographical expansion, the geographies that we are looking at. There's a lot to do in India. There's a lot to do domestically across all sports, yes. But we see a lot of traction, at least in international markets. We've been fortunate enough to have channel partners, great partners working with us, them giving us opportunities. So we've managed to have a few geographies already penetrated in some good markets, I would say. Looking at Australia today, as Shubhangi mentioned, as one of the potential areas because of our previous connect shareholders being from the country as well. And then, of course, everyone wants to be in the Middle East in the sports segment today, where there's a lot of investments coming in. And so, hopefully, soon we have some inroads, initial traction. I wouldn't even say initial traction, but initial interest in a few areas and of the Middle East, and let's see how that goes. Beyond the geography, keeping the geography spread aside, I'm very excited about two key things today. How well can you, uh, you know, bring sustainability to sports at this tier? Especially in countries like India, how can you make sports sustainable at this tier through various forms of commercialization? And I think through media that is very much possible. So I'm very keen to see how well can we do or how well the whole industry can do, and hopefully we make the right decisions than wrong ones to be able to do that. And second, I feel is the whole casual sports segment, where there is a lot of potential, uh, just making casual sports fun. I think that is what I'm very excited about. Like I think we've tried to unlock casual sports now, and we've found initial success, I would say. And how can we build on this success is something that I want to focus on. So yeah, I think
Oh, so
these are the two things that I feel are coming up for
no,
us.
awesome, man. I know. I think it's so important that uh, companies and startups like SportVot succeed, because you are in a way building the sports media infrastructure right from the grounds up.
Yeah,
We always see the glamour behind an IPL or ICC tournaments in cricket, or tennis or the Olympics, but literally it starts at the grassroots.
yeah,
So it's important that the stories that are happening in every gully, every nook and corner of India, that story needs to be told, right? The next Sachin or the next Virat Kohli or the next Leander Pace comes from the grassroots. The journey becomes literally starts from 0 to 1, and that needs to be captured and shared. So kudos to you guys for having built what you have, um, and um, and good luck for the future. And thank you for the time on the podcast as well.
thank you so much. Thanks so much, Nate, for having us, and I hope we made some sense of how we are operating, and hopefully people get some good positive insights from this.
Oh, absolutely, man. We'll be rooting for you. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Shubhangi. Thanks.
Bye.